Hello everybody and welcome back to A Royal Reader. My name is Cece and today I'm going to be doing my December wrap-up. Now December was actually the first month that I started to read again after taking a little bit of a break slash slump. And I actually managed to read about 9 books I think for the month, and I'm quite impressed with that. These are just some of the books that I managed to finish in the month of December, so let's get into it. So the first one that I finished was actually a sort of carryover from September or whenever it was, and that is The Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This is a very big chunky book and I did tab it. So this is a dark epic fantasy where we have our main character, Gabriel de Lion. He is the last Silver Saint, and the Silver Saints are a religious order of people who go around hunting monsters and things like vampires, because 30 years prior to the beginning of this novel, the sun set and then never rose again, so all sorts of monsters and creatures come out at the nighttime, daytime situation, and Silver Saints are tasked with killing them off. This story is about Gabriel's life, I guess you could say, and his quest for the Holy Grail, which is supposedly something that will allow them to bring the sun back. This story is told through a sort of interview-like format because Gabriel has been captured by the vampires and is forced to tell his life story to a scribe. I really enjoyed this. I definitely think I took too long reading it, so the impact was just not there for me when it came to certain scenes and attributes of the book that I'm pretty sure a lot of other people did react to, if that makes sense. But still, nonetheless, I think I gave this a low 4 stars. The next book is one that I finished via audio, and that is The Castle of Wizardry by David Eddings. This is the 4th book, I believe, in the Belgariad series. This is the series where my real name, Sinedra, comes from. It's a series that my parents read and decided to name me from one of the characters, so I've been making my way through these. This is a coming-of-age epic fantasy where we follow our main character Garion, who has lived on a farm his whole life with his aunt Pole, and then one day when the hermit old man who comes every so often arrives and says that he needs to take his aunt on a quest, and because his aunt doesn't want to leave Garion behind, Garion has to go along with them. He discovers a lot of things about himself and realizes that there is more to his aunt and this old man than what he thought possible, and the world opens up quite big for him. Quite big, quite large. The world just opens up into a whole new world for him, basically. This is very reminiscent of like Robin Hobb and Lord of the Rings and things like that. Definitely not as hard to read as Lord of the Rings. There's a large cast of characters in this, and I really enjoyed seeing them get to know each other and everything like that. And yeah, that one, I think I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I decided to pick up was The 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I'm obsessed with this cover. This is a retelling of, I think it's The 7 Swans or something along those lines, where we have our main character whose name I cannot pronounce. She discovers a secret about her stepmother, and her stepmother decides to curse her and her 6 other brothers. Her 6 brothers get turned into cranes, and unfortunately our main character is stuck with a magical bowl on her head that hides her away from people knowing her, and she also has a curse where if she says a single word or utters a single noise, each noise that she makes, one of her brothers will die. So yeah, I didn't particularly enjoy this. To me, it read really, really young. Our main character is supposed to be 17 years old, and she reads more like a 13-year-old. She does have a little bit of character growth throughout the story, but it just felt very young, and the romance was very hard to believe. So unfortunately, not the best. I think I gave this a 3 stars or maybe even a 2.5. The next book that I picked up was a continuation of a series, or a duology. I'm pretty sure it's just a duology, and that is The Bone Cries Dawn by Catherine Purdy. This follows a lot of main characters actually, but mainly we have our two main characters, Elise and Sabine. They are bone criers in training, and a bone crier essentially is tasked with ferrying the dead across the bridge to either the underworld or into heaven. In order for them to achieve this bone crier status, they need to complete a series of tasks where they have to kill an animal and take its bones to receive its like attributes. And the final thing they have to do is they have to summon their soulmate and kill them within a year, or they will die. In the first one, we have our main character Elise, who is summoning her soulmate, and our other main character, Bastian, comes along and kidnaps her because Bastian's father was a soulmate to a bone crier and unfortunately died. So he is hell-bent on getting revenge on all of the bone criers and wants to find out where they're hiding so he can kill them all. So the first book takes place where we are trying to find Elise, and Sabine is struggling with her own self-consciousness, and so on and so forth. This one takes place pretty much directly after that. I enjoyed it. It definitely felt like it was dragging on just a little bit too much, but nonetheless it was interesting to see more of Sabine's character. I definitely like her more than I like Elise, and I do felt like some of the religion discussion got a little bit hazy for me, so I didn't really enjoy it as much as I did the first book. So unfortunately I think I gave this about a 3.5. Next, I decided I wanted something darker, so I decided to pick up In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. This is a necromancy blood magic story. It's kind of difficult to describe, but in this world there are blood mages who, I guess they can, I don't know how to describe it, but their magic involves using blood. In order to keep these types of people under control, the king decides that each blood mage needs to have a guardian which can, I guess, keep them under control and inflict pain on them when they are doing something bad. So our main character, Ro, her father was a blood mage and he didn't want to be controlled by this spectral guard, so he sort of gets arrested, and Ro is then stuck trying to hide her secret because she is also a blood mage. She ends up getting found out and is taken to the palace, and she is then given a guard spectre. She also ends up realizing that there is a lot of sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, what does it say? A terrible secret that could destroy everyone in Thanoopolis, the living and the dead. To save them, Roven must start a rebellion in both the mortal world and the underworld, and find a way to trust the princess and the undying spirit vying for her heart if she doesn't betray them first. So, liked the first half of this book. The romance in this was very, very hard to believe, although our main character, I believe she is asexual or something along those lines, and there is also a non-binary character in this, which I did really appreciate, and I enjoyed watching their character grow throughout this book. Yeah, just the romance in this was very hard to believe. I did not believe that they were in love whatsoever. It was mainly just that, so I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. I also decided on a random whim to just pick up a book from my Kindle, and that was actually Guild by Raven Kennedy, I think is it? This is a King Midas retelling, and it's also a smutty fantasy romance, I guess you could say. I really don't know how to describe this because it took a turn that I wasn't expecting. The ending was very, very interesting. Not a lot happens in the book, but it makes it interesting for the next couple of books that are going to be coming out. And I am definitely interested in seeing where this goes. So we have our main character, whose name I have completely forgotten, and she is gold touched. So she's not turned into a statue, but everything about her is gold, and she is classed as the king's favored pet. The king has decided to overtake a country or something or other, and wants her there, or wants her to meet him there. So she and a bunch of other whores and stuff from the palace are traveling along a journey when they get kidnapped, and it was just crazy. This is definitely like toxic relationship, I want to say. There's a lot of like red flags. I'm like, girl, you should not be thinking that, but nonetheless I still really enjoyed it. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, I think, and I'm really interested to see where this one goes. Next, I picked up House of Salt and Sorrow by Ern A. Craig. This is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, and unfortunately I really didn't mesh well with this. The writing in this is beautiful and it's very atmospheric and creepy and dark, which I liked, but I think because I don't know like the original 12 Dancing Princess story, I have the Barbie version in my head, so I was expecting it to be something along those lines, which it does have, but it's definitely more along the lines of this curse that surrounds the family where there is 12 daughters, and unfortunately I think 4 or 5 of them have been like, they've died in rather weird ways, and our main character is trying to like figure out like if they were murdered or if there is actually a curse on them or something like that. And there's a lot of religion, or at least like the religion, like the gods and stuff like that within this book, which I don't think was explained very well. So it got very confusing towards the end when everything was happening. There is like the magical doorway that leads them to a palace where they can go dancing at balls, and it's just amazing and fabulous. But I think that was kind of, there was no point for that because it didn't take precedence of the story. I just think that it wasn't really, if they cut out the dancing part of it, it would still make sense. So I think that it kind of failed a little bit in the retelling aspect. So next, I decided to randomly pick up Every Heart a Doorway. I listened to this on audio in one day, and it was really interesting. I was shocked. And I'm definitely interested in continuing on the series. So in this we have a, I don't want to say a cast of characters because each book follows a different character, but in this world, I guess you could say, we have children who have traveled through to border worlds like, you know, Narnia and stuff like that, and when they come back they don't really settle back into society easily, and so there is this place, which I've forgotten what it was. There's this place where they can go that's sort of like a wayward home. I think this whole series actually is called Wayward Children. Sort of like an orphanage type situation where this lady who originally was a portal girl herself, like portal child herself, she has actually come back and, you know, regulated herself back into society. She's taking care of the kids and like teaching them everything about the portals and just how to go back at being normal, and really fascinating. And the main aspect of this first book in particular, I don't know if it continues on, but the main aspect of this book is that the children are being killed. So they're sort of like a murder mystery, and very interesting. Definitely want to continue on the rest of the series in 2022. And then the last book that I read for December, Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. Not even a retelling, it's just a story about them, I guess you could say. So in this we have our main character Persephone, who is hiding the fact that she is a god. It's also hiding from the gods of Olympus herself, because they all know that Demeter had a daughter, but they don't know that she has godlike abilities, I guess you could say. And one day Hades and Persephone cross paths when Persephone goes to Hades' club, because this is a sort of modernized world. And she sort of makes a deal with him to just teach her how to play cards, and with each one that she gets right, I guess. I don't know what game they played, some weird game, but with each thing that she gets right, she can ask a question and he can ask a question and stuff like that. In the end, she ends up like making a deal with him where she has to create life in the underworld, otherwise she will be his forever, essentially. So it's their story of them, you know, fighting and butting heads a lot, because there is that attraction there between the two of them, but Persephone is very hell-bent against even thinking about liking Hades because of all of the deals that he makes with all these people. And she's also interning? She also has an internship at either a newspaper or a magazine, I can't remember which one it is, and she's writing a article series about Hades and the deals that he makes with all of the mortals and stuff like that. It's a solid like fantasy romance, I guess you could say, so I gave this one a 3 out of 5. Woo-wee! So these are all the books that I read for the month of December. I am so surprised that I managed to read all of these. Definitely did not think I was going to. To be fair, I did start December being, I think, almost 200 pages from the end of Empire of the Vampire, so I don't really class it, but I did finish it, so take with that what you will. Let me know how your December was. I am seriously still shocked that I managed to read this many books in December. Let me know what you guys read. Let me know if you have read any of these and you enjoyed them. Let me know what some of your favorite reads were down below in the comments, and if you'd like to see more of me, then do be sure to check out my Instagram and Twitter. Links are always linked down in the description box. And if you'd like to see more videos, then do be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date every time I upload. And yeah, I am wishing you guys a happy new year, and I will talk to you guys in another video later on.